Hi guys, it's live from the Roadhouse, and I got my guest here, who I'd like to welcome now, who's in season 3, and we're going to be talking about that as well as other things. I'd like to welcome live from the Roadhouse, Jay Aaseng. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing good, Frank. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Jay, before we get... I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, before we get to season 3, Jay... I've been doing my research and understand that you have had quite a long working relationship with David Lynch, going right back to Inland Empire. In fact, I wondered if you could tell me, and I believe you juggled a few different jobs on that. Could you sort of tell us a bit about working on Inland Empire and what your roles were?
Sure. Yeah. So like you said, I've known David for a while, since 2001, when I came out to LA and got a job somehow working as his assistant. And over the years, that kind of progressed into other areas. And Inland Empire was a really unique film that kind of evolved in a unexpected, kind of organic way from a lot of website experiments that he was doing for his own website, davidlynch.com. After Mulholland dropped, he kind of suddenly took a hard turn into digital and was doing a lot of things with that. And then before you knew it, one theme led to another, and then we had something which he started thinking of as its own, feature film, Inland Empire. So what that meant for me, back when that first started, it was me and one other guy, Eric Crary. We were kind of his two assistants in the office, and he just wanted to kind of do everything himself, completely. He just kind of wanted to take a big step back outside the system, and see how much he could just do all on his own. And so with a couple of cameras, and so what that meant was basically helping him run cameras. Shooting different scenes, trying to whatever, print everything, production design, helping him. There are other people obviously far more qualified than me when we need to actually build some semblance of a set, or do a little bit of lighting, but we were kind of had a hand in everything as far as just kind of helping him wrangle props, getting things set up, finding who often would know the actors he wanted, but we would kind of find them, so it was a lot of kind of coordinating. What I later found out was basically what working in production is like: production coordinating, production supervising, all that kind of thing. I mean, it's basically producing, but on a lower level than that. But I mean, this was all kind of film school for me. It was kind of doing that. It was helping him load in footage, kind of taking on this assistant editor role for a while. Probably the most thrilling part of it was being a writer's assistant to him, because he would be writing scenes, and he'd dictate scenes that could hit either while we were in his office or sometimes while we were on set. He just kind of had to always be ready, and if he just kind of got an idea and wanted to start writing, then I kind of had to be there to start getting all that from him, and kind of then type it up later into kind of a script form that we'd go out and shoot. So it was just kind of a little bit of everything. It was kind of amazing. And as it grew and grew, then more people were brought on and got involved, as it started to kind of reach, critical mass, as it were. But for probably the majority of the film, it kind of worked that way, and it was kind of an amazing time to be able to just kind of be along for the ride and try to help him in whatever way that I could.
Did you get to shoot in Poland with him?
Yeah, we definitely did. That was a heck of an experience, I got to say.
I'll bet, yeah.
Crazy experience in my life, mostly because we shot in the dead of winter, one of what was later we found out one of the coldest winters ever. We were shooting in, abandoned factories. Some of it was indoors, thank God, but we were shooting, outdoors in abandoned factories. We were shooting out on the street in a blizzard at one point. I will never have more respect for an actor than I do for Laura Dern because
Yes, yeah.
the things that she was able to do over there. I mean, not only is it just an amazing performance in its own right, but the elements that she had to brave in doing that role were just, it was really just kind of just mind-boggling, really. How she pulled it off. But yeah, we were doing, just shooting very, very cold conditions. I probably can't. I wish there are certain stories I wish I could tell, and I'll probably get in trouble if I do. But suffice to say that. That was, we did it all with the help, by the way, of Mary Zadovich, the Cameron Ridge gang over there. They do the Cameron Ridge Film Festival.
Yes.
And they were kind of a huge liaison over there, and they kind of helped us get into these places that otherwise I don't know if we would have been able to get into, and shoot some of the amazing locations that show up in the film. So. But anyway, yeah, to answer your question, we definitely shot over Poland for one crazy week, probably not even quite a week, and it was, we somehow made it out alive.
Lucky you didn't get hypothermia. You also were in the film Cabin Fever. Yeah, can you tell me about that? Because your character's name was quite interesting. It's like believe it or not, I haven't seen Cabin Fever. Can you believe it? But I must be one of the only people that never hasn't. But I'll have to watch it after this, though. Yeah. But you played a character called Sir Chug-a-Lot. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! So this is a very random thing that came about. Eli Roth, the director of that film, and David know each other. And at the time, Eli was just, basically that was his first feature film. Or maybe he'd done some smaller ones before that, but that was kind of, on the big to date. And he was still a relatively low budget affair, and he was a super cool guy, and was talking about the scene he was doing. Where he needed, some people that was going to be kind of like us, drinking beers, something like around a campfire, and then we get accosted by this he's, the main character of the film, and it was this kind of crazy thing. He needed some people, so he was reaching out to me and some other people, like, hey, do you want to come and be, basically just an extra in this film, or so I thought it was going to be, So I asked him more about it and, what's going to go on. And he's like, yeah, it's, the kind of hillbillies and, somewhere in the Carolinas, forget where it was. And so, so I was like, okay, cool. And I grew out some really bad facial hair and, wore an old flannel shirt, and I was kind of excited to come do this. And I showed up, and I was pretty much the only person who did that. There was a bunch of other people that were there, and, they were all great, but I think I maybe embraced the the character, my extra character, a little bit more than maybe was the deal with others. And so we did, and then on top of that, we found out that there was some kind of permit issues. We actually weren't able to have a campfire, so we shot it in Griffith Park. And so we were kind of just all standing around in a circle, basically drinking these 40s, water, obviously, but, they're these looking like 40s. And I think at one point, the reason I got that name is because we were shooting this thing, and, Eli's kind of just shooting just some footage of all of us kind of just improvising and drinking and joking and, whatever. And at one point, I kind of just took the 40-hour drink and just tilted it back and just started chugging and just kind of kept going and going and going and just took a giant chug out of it. Finished the whole thing, and I guess he thought that was hilarious. It didn't end up making the final cut, but he remembered that. It might even be in the deleted scenes, I'm not sure. But and so then, I didn't find out until I saw the movie later that my title, I didn't think I was going to get a title, honestly, in the film, but he put my role as Sir Chug-a-Lot. So it's almost kind of like this inside joke, really. But yeah, that was my first mini claim to fame, I guess.
That's great, yeah. Now, also, I see also that you worked with David on some of the extras that were on the gold box set of Twin Peaks. And it's got here that you were credited with a special thank you for the segment called A Slice with Lynch. I'm just curious as to what what you actually what your involvement was to get that thank you?
I'm trying to think. That was probably just something as far as just helping to coordinate, some of the shooting and his schedule and getting him there, and a lot of that stuff was kind of just working in conjunction with, all the basically in charge of making that special edition. Charles, whose last name I'm blanking on, but anyway, he's like kind of the main director of all those special features at the time, and he was great. And I think there's a lot of kind of things that happened in order to get not only David but some of the other people from way back when, kind of involved, and they all kind of met up at the Bigfoot Lodge in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
because it was kind of a great Twin Peaksy looking place.
Yeah, it definitely had the vibe, didn't it?
So,
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of perfect. So yeah, there's the whole thing, and and as you've seen it, David really kind of got into it, and did a whole kind of thing with it that was like really kind of cool. So it wasn't just kind of a standard interview. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great segment, Jay. The extras on that set were very well put together, I thought.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
True, yeah. That's right. We. I almost forgot. Yeah, just how much went into that one, but that was a fun one for sure.
It
all came together.
All right, great, absolutely, yeah. Now, getting on to years later, I mean, so you've had quite a long collaboration with Lynch over the years, as we touched upon. But it comes to like the return of the series after a 26-year gap, which is pretty monumental for any series really. But you were called, you were called back for a very different reason, to play a character who became a very much regarded character amongst fans, because you were very mysterious, and people were kind of fascinated by you and stuff like that, and you've been remembered for that part as the drunk, in the cell. I just want to know how, and I know that you knew David previously, so that may have helped. But I was just curious whether you had to go through an audition process to get the role.
I did not, and yeah, it does. Ordinarily, that would feel like a little bit more of a nepotistic thing. I mean, it is, but the thing is, Dave doesn't really audition anybody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, in all the years I worked for him, it's kind of a fascinating thing where he'll, whether it's somebody who, it really doesn't even hardly matter what your acting background is. It could be somebody who is, a very well-established actor, or it could be somebody that has never acted before at all. He's cast, from the entire spectrum as far as that goes in his things. And really, for him, he just kind of has to know a person, to kind of decide if he wants to cast them something, if he thinks that they can do it. I think that there is, he obviously has to have enough faith that they can actually pull off the role that he's asked him to do. But, I don't think that, so there has to be some intuition, I guess, as far as that goes. But, but I mean, other than that, it's really just, does he think that they're right for the role as far as, what he knows about them? As long as he feels he can act, or at least do what you need to do for the role, then that's the most important thing, other than, of course, meeting you and kind of understanding who you are. So, like, for example, with actors that he doesn't know or hasn't, met before, that are, like, in more major roles for some of his films, like, he'll sit down and meet with them and talk with them for a while.
Yeah.
But then that's usually all that he needs, to know whether or not he's going to cast them or not. I've never seen him do an audition for anybody. So as far as I was involved, towards the end of my time working with him, David, for some crazy reason, kind of started seeing me more as an actor. He had me do a couple of small things for him and some of his DavidLynch.com things, and he did this short film for the Cannes Film Festival at one point, and he needed some people to do some voice acting roles for that, and then I did this thing that he really kind of got excited about and really liked, and so towards the end of when I left, he just kind of would, you know, in his way, he would kind of keep saying, you know, okay, you gotta do acting, man, you know, keep going like that. So, you know, so I'd been doing more of that for, you know, for some time after leaving him, more than in, you know, voiceover, but I'd done, you know, some short films and some web stuff and some plays and stuff like that. So, so I think that when Twin Peaks came along, apparently he, you know, I mean, again, I'll still never really understand why he thought of me for this particular role. I really don't know. I probably shouldn't think about it too hard, really. But yeah, but for whatever reason, he got this idea in his head that, you know, that he wanted to ask me to do this character, which he'd kind of been, I think, you know, it's been sort of maybe swirling around his mind for a while. And he'd even been thinking about me for this role for a while, but, you know, for whatever reason, he hadn't approached me until like maybe a month before it was time to shoot. And then, you know, then I got a call from his producer, Sabrina, and she asked, "Hey, so you want to be in the show?" And then
Yeah.
I went from there. So
Yeah.
That's kind of how that role came about.
Did David give you any specific directions for your character while on set? Did he sort of say, you know, just be still, just have no expression or whatever? Or was there any specifics he talked through with you?
I mean, I mean, he certainly, you know, gave me direction on specifics. You know, I was able to talk to him the day before I came to set to kind of ask him some questions about, you know, the character and what I was, you know, what he had in mind for it. And then when I got there, yeah, he kind of, you know, talked to me a little bit more about that. You know, my part was, you know, was kind of extra interesting because I don't have any lines of my own per se. I'm just, you know, I'm out there kind of ripping on whatever everybody else is doing out there. And so because of that, I didn't get a script. And I mean, you know, most people on the show only got the script, only got pages for the scenes that they were in.
Yeah.
But I didn't even get that because, you know, they was like, there's nothing, you don't need it. Like,
You don't need it because you're literally just copying what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So he told me how, you know, how he to work, you know, more or less, and then, you know, it's hard to describe kind of, you know, how he directs because, you know, he kind of, you kind of have to sort of try to get on his wavelength, you know. He'll certainly be specific with you to a degree, but then, you know, after a certain point, you kind of need to, as any actor does, you kind of have to take it and interpret it and kind of jump off into the void sort of with him, you know, and just be like, I hope this is kind of, you know, what he's wanting here, you know, and if it is, then, you know, he just gets really excited and keeps it going, and if it isn't, he'll, you know, talk a little bit more and kind of get you back in the direction he wants you to go. But yeah, that was, you know, so for me, it was because I'd known him for so long, I felt like I kind of was able to, you know, kind of get on the same page with him relatively quickly, and you know, once I kind of realized what this was going to be, you know, I kind of took the ball and ran with it. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, and you know, he seemed to be digging it, so I just kind of kept going.
I know a lot of people have, you know, the vibe's been going around. A lot of people have been saying that, you know, when they watched your scenes and you playing out in them, that how kind of like shocked they were by the makeup you had on. And the blood dripping on the floor constantly.
They're not the only ones. They're watching it go on me, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, without going into specifics as to how they did it, I was just curious how long it took to apply and how long it took to take off, and how long you would have been in that makeup for any length of time.
Well, I don't remember exactly how long it took to get me in there. It was probably 2 or 3 hours, I would guess, at least the first time around.
Yeah.
Once they kind of had that dialed in, you know, taking it off doesn't take nearly as long. And as far as how long I had to be in, once I was in it for the whole day. You know, it wasn't like, okay, you know, now you're going to take it off, you know, at lunch or whatever and put it back on. You know, there was no point to that. So, so I was once I had it on, I was looking, you know, basically just terrifying for the rest of the day.
Was it problematic, you know, eating and drinking with it on, or?
Well, you it wasn't. I was able to eat and drink with it, but it's funny you mentioned there was, because I looked so just repulsive. Once we got to lunchtime, I kind of felt weird about, it's like I would never be the type to go and like, oh, I'm just going to go eat lunch in my trailer, away from everybody else. Like, I like to be social and be part of the crew and cast, but for those 2 days, I felt so bad because I was like, I look so horrible. I feel like I'm going to just put anybody off their lunch if I go sit down in the cafeteria
yes.
and eat with people. So I did kind of go run and hide those 2 days and just kind of eat lunch on my own.
Yeah,
just felt like, like a hunchback in Notre Dame type of thing or something. It's like, I just need to go run in a corner and hide my shame. So terrible. I mean, it was like, it's a thing where when you're on set doing it, everyone's like, oh, it's amazing. But then you're walking around. It was almost kind of comical after a while when I just get, this look after look from people, in the crew that just come walking by, if we weren't shooting, it's like, oh my God. So,
I bet, yeah.
It was something else, yeah.
And how was it? How was it? What was it like playing alongside your co-stars in your scenes?
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, I had a ton of fun, although at the same time, I kind of felt bad because, I was basically there to kind of be the most disruptive person on set for a couple of days. I mean, well, first of all, I got to say, the main person I'm playing opposite of is the character Chad, played by John Piricello.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Super cool. The nicest, coolest, most talented guy. Playing off of him was really kind of something special, and he was so, he was so into it. I mean, it was kind of, in a way, I was very lucky to not only get to be playing off somebody so talented, but also somebody who was like so into the vibe of everything that Lynch was doing. Like he was just, I'm just torturing him in all these scenes, and he's, right there with me every time the camera's rolling. But when it's not, he was just like, he was just so excited and amped up and just like, this is awesome. So it was like, he was just, we were feeling something for sure. Doing those things where it's like, there's an otherworldly kind of thing. That combined with, Nye, Yuki was playing the character Naito.
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of this sort of crazy thing where, and that was the thing I didn't really know that I was going to be doing. Because I hadn't seen the script, I didn't know anything about that character. I'd heard that some European things I heard in jail, but I didn't know there was going to be a character like that who's just kind of making these otherworldly kind of chirping noises.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sure it must have been David's plan. I didn't realize it was his plan to have me start like parodying her as well. But once I started doing it, that really kind of took on its own thing as well, and it was just like. That was an aspect of that whole thing I never could have foreseen, or just like me kind of, in my own weird way, trying to mimic sounds coming out of her.
Yeah.
Me with, more of a deeper voice, and she's got this, kind of amazingly high-pitched chirps, me trying to kind of make that type of sound was just like insane. but that was another thing that just kind of put it all into a whole nother kind of interesting space. So that was a blast, and it was. I remember kind of, getting to at least, Nye, to my knowledge, doesn't really speak much English. So it was just kind of this amazing connection that like sort of happened where, we didn't really able to interact either off the set or on it really, but like afterwards it was just kind of this, this sort of acknowledgement of like, wow, that was like kind of a crazy cool thing that we were doing right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then as for the others, the others was where I really kind of trip out because they were all like incredibly great. But like, I would just feel so bad because whether it was James and Jake with their characters, or Andy, there's our Harry playing Andy, all of them, it kind of just blew my mind how much I just kind of had to mess with their scenes, they're saying these incredibly dramatic things, and then, they kind of almost, destroyed the gravitas of the situation with my, just insane drunken nonsense. I think that was kind of the interesting thing to me. That was like we're really kind of playing this like kind of really amazing line between like kind of comedy and just like kind of horrific otherworldliness, or like you might watch it now, like some things kind of make you laugh and other things just kind of make you, kind of recoil, but there were definitely parts that just like, it almost seemed hilarious to me that like I am, by design, stepping on their lines and that's the scenes that they're trying to act in, and they're doing such a great job. And a lot of times after the camera would stop rolling, they'd be laughing. I remember James and Jake especially, like at one point, they would look over and start laughing, at these crazy, because I was there. That was the other thing. I was there every single, even if I'm not on camera, David had me there all the time. I'm always doing my thing off camera. So it really kind of made it, even more real. But it just makes it that much more, challenging for them to do what they did, and they did it amazingly. So.
Oh yes, absolutely.
All of them.
Yeah, you must have had a lot of fun doing it. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay, right. I just want to go backwards a wee bit. Not from season 3, but I wanted to ask you whether you watched the original 2 seasons of Twin Peaks and Fire Walk with Me, and if you had, what did you think of those?
I did, yeah. I watched them while I was working with David, that I hadn't seen them for forever, and I didn't rewatch them again until kind of right before the return came out. Kind of almost sort of felt like seeing with fresh eyes, especially because I was watching them with my wife, who was seeing it all for the first time, and that was kind of a cool experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what did I think of them? I thought, it's hard to know what you said hasn't been said already. I mean, it was, I was. It's kind of amazing how much it just kind of caught something, I guess. I mean, there's something about a murder mystery that's always going to be just uniquely compelling, no matter what. And then the fact that David and Mark kind of put, such a unique kind of spin on that, and put that into such a unique world, that we'd never seen before. I think just kind of created this engine that was just that people couldn't get enough of. And I mean, if you saw the pilot, I think pretty much almost everybody saw that pilot felt the same way. You couldn't wait to see more and spend more time diving deeper into this world that they created. So yeah, I was absolutely into it. It's very, very interesting to me how much things change. As season 2 progresses. It's much has been said about how that whole thing came about and the pressures that the network kind of put on them to do certain things, the storyline. But it's also very interesting how you can see at what point David had to leave for a little while, and then when he comes back,
Yes. Yeah.
It's a very interesting there, where he literally comes in on camera, basically, in episode 18, I think, to kind of steer things completely back in a different direction, and tell Cooper, here's your suit and everything. It's like it could not be any more, literal almost.
Yeah.
But so I thought, when season 2 ended, I thought it ended in the most, kind of spectacular way. I can't imagine what that must have been like to watch that live on network television.
Oh yeah.
It must have been just, utterly insane for people to try to comprehend how they were seeing something like that on network television and what all that meant, and to try to get their heads around that. And it was a huge swing at the time, and then but that's kind of his MO, though, I guess. Like everything he does is kind of a huge swing, and it just kind of come what may. I mean, Fire Walk with Me was another huge swing, and very much him, but also in many ways very different from what people had seen with the TV show. And so I think for some people, for me at least, it kind of took me a little while to kind of figure out how those two kind of fit together tonally. At least, I mean, they did in a way, but it was also just kind of so much darker and so much heavier in a way that we hadn't seen before, at least in the series. But if you know David's work, you know that he's obviously he specializes in in that kind of thing. And then, of course, The Return comes out, and it kind of brings both of those two things together in a way that I really wasn't expecting. I don't think I guess I should have really been thinking that Firewalk with Me was going to tie more into it, but it was kind of amazing to me how much both of them, both the series and the movie, kind of really factored in heavily to the next evolution of Twin Peaks in The Return.
Indeed, yeah, very much so.
I don't know.
Yes.
That's my 2-bit analysis anyway, from that point of view.
So I'd like to ask you now, get up to date with season 3. How does it feel to be part of television history? It's
hard to know how to answer that question. I mean, I think it's something that will be kind of hard to process. It's certainly hard to process now, and I think maybe it'll kind of maybe it'll kind of start to sink in more as the years go on. As far as what all this meant. I mean, David's stuff is often kind of, as many said before, it's kind of this experience that washes over you.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I mean, it kind of sounds like a cliche, but he's often very ahead of his time, as far as the things that he's doing. So,
oh yes, yeah.
So I think that looking back on it will probably kind of give me a little bit more of kind of an understanding of exactly, what, or at least a little bit more of a feeling of kind of like what this was and kind of, what it meant. But as of now, it's just kind of, it's to kind of have been a small part of it all, of this giant mystery that just seems like it's kind of impossible for it all to, come out of David and Mark's heads, and for David to have been able to direct this entire thing himself and kind of keep it all straight. It's an amazing, gargantuan thing, and it's just fun to have been in it.
Yeah, that's great, Jay. Well, Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you for my show. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for your time.
Of course, yeah, happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And guys, we'll be back soon, hopefully, with another interview with a Twin Peaks actor or actress, if things go well. And until then, we'll see you in the trees.